I'm gonna navigate the microphones and give them out to people.
Do you want to navigate the microphones and give them out to people?
Yeah.
So do you want to just do that?
You're putting on a proper posh face today.
Yeah, like the whole day.
I'm going to navigate the microphone and make sure that you don't
say nothing. Timeline.
Episode 12, a special episode because we're joined by a live audience and we are discussing, I should say, the issue of gun and knife crime in London, in our city at the moment. So today we're going to be talking about the root causes, the different impacts such as music and the solutions. So we're joined by Lippy, special guest today. Thank you very much for coming. Whoa, we got an audience!
I didn't even actually think people watch this. I thought it was myself just retweeting for checking the videos.
To kick things off, obviously there's a big issue in the capital now involving gun and knife crime, particularly amongst young people. So when we think about root causes, there's so many different things. Music is something separate, which you're going to talk about. But things like social media, things like peer pressure, environment, education, so many different factors. Personally, when I was younger, I had a knife pulled out in front of me, and that was to do with a girl, actually.
So?
Yeah, that was me trying to help a girl because she was seeing a guy, and the guy told me that he was only trying to smash, and then I was trying to protect her, so I was like, nah. No, I was young, innit? I wasn't patterned.
No, you did the right thing.
Tied on the Superman cape.
Yeah. I thought I was Captain
Off to save this maiden.
Save a lady.
No.
I thought I was Captain Save a Lady, so I was
You
like,
did the right thing.
I was only like 14, innit?
Oh,
so and they were like 19, 20, so I told her.
And she was 14 as well?
Nah, she was like 18, 19. So
Where did you come from?
that's how the block is, you know what I mean?
You just want to have sex with me.
No, stop, this is serious. I nearly got killed, guys.
Okay, well, that part's not funny.
Yeah.
I'm talking about before that.
Yeah, but so I went to tell her, and she told him, and then he confronted me and threatened to, to take me out of the game.
I've never had a knife pulled out on me, but I think I was with a bunch of girls and we were on the bus, and I definitely wasn't about that life. And like one girl, she was the younger brother of somebody who was about that life, and she saw all of us, and I think she just said, she didn't like us, I don't know, and she was just like, get off the bus, otherwise I'll get my brother to do something to you. Luckily that was my stop, so that's it. That would have become my stop anyway. So that was my stop. But so I've never even seen someone wield a knife actually.
No, the first time it was an accident. I literally, when I was in uni, doing events and stuff like that, I came out and I saw a guy that I knew, but he was waved. I was like, yo, he's like, what? I was like, what? He just backed out a thicky, just straight. I was like, oh shit. A flick now. Like, you press the button, boom, pops out. And then he was walking towards me and I was like, what the fuck? Crazy. And second time was in a house party in uni, literally, someone smashed a bottle by accident, and you know that guy that fancies the girl that's hosting a house party? He's like, yo, listen, whoever smashed that bottle was getting stabbed today. Yeah? I swear, it's not even funny, like, because I was shook as hell, but he literally pulled out a knife. Like, I thought they were just saying it just to say it, and then, you know when someone has a weapon and then the light flashes on the weapon, and then you're like, oh shit, he's really got a weapon. And then the worst thing as well, I was stupid. I was trying to at least like show some sort of bravado, do you know what I mean? So literally, I was a bit waved. I was waved. And then like he's literally approaching me with it, and at the same time I'm trying to not, because I'm stupid, this is the first year, I'm very, very dumb. I'm trying to not show everyone that I'm afraid. So like I'm still like talking shit, but I know the car's parked there. So like, I'm like, nah, like, yeah, okay, if it was me that did it, okay, cool, back it up. Jumped in the car, he was tapping on the window like Terrell. like tapping on the window. Tapping on the window. And she, my driver, and yeah.
I backed out knives on a couple of man before and had knives backed on me. So, yeah. A lot of my teen years was about knives, I'll be honest. A lot of it. Whether it was getting nicked or my mum finding them or my friends getting stabbed, I've been stabbed. And yeah.
What do you think is the reason for the knife culture? What do you think are some of the reasons, should I say, from your experience?
I'll be honest, like kind of being in it, I think that kind of road life, it's like, and it's gonna sound silly, like no one will admit it, like anyone that's involved now, but anyone that's honest, looking back, they'll say it was kind of like, it's like the guy that took the most risk was like, had the biggest reputation kind of thing. So the guy that would have a knife in public, or the guy that would have a gun, or that's on YouTube chatting shit or whatever. It's like negativity is very glorified on like in that life. So everyone's just trying to be the most evil, like the coldest, and yeah. So a lot of fuck you happens because it's a lot of young people that kind of don't know what they're doing, just bouncing off each other. And obviously along the way, man get into real situations where their friends get killed or people are after them, so they feel they have to arm themselves and that. And it's, yeah, kind of at first, it's almost like a fashion statement. It's like, yeah, I got my knife and I got my little man dem or whatever. And then before you know it, it becomes serious. And yeah, it's frightening, but it's real.
Do you feel like, compared to your teen years, compared to now, do you feel like social media has made it worse, a lot worse?
Yeah, much worse. I remember back to being like 16 and like going girls' houses and that, and they'll be like, feel like my jacket and feel I had a knife on me. And they'll be like, raw, they'll be like, sometimes they'll be a bit infatuated, a little bit like, but at the same time it was a shock factor. But the little girls now, like I have younger brothers and younger cousins and that, it's nothing to them. And it's because of social media, it's made it very normal. Like I remember like when I was like a little road man, like back in the day, yeah, it was fashionable, but there wasn't a lot of us like how there is now. Now there's like areas that kind of weren't like that, is like that, just because it's kind of the in thing. And yeah, a lot of it is down to social media. And we see these kids, these video channels will link them on their estates, and they'll chat their shit about other boys on the next estate, and they'll get millions of views. And their people them will big them up at college or whatever. Girl will like them, and yeah, it's all because of social media. And that was, I remember when I was like the age of some of these boys, it was like MySpace and that. So it was, a lot of it was about music. It weren't really too visual. But now it's all about, now there's Instagram and all these, it's all image in it. And it's like, it's not, I'm not saying raw in my time you had to be a G, but like it's now, it's not, like I said, these youths are just popping out of nowhere. They're just on their blocks with their tracksuits and that. Then before you know it, they run into a next group of youths, and then serious things are happening. And whereas before, in my time kind of thing, it's once we're not with them youths kind of thing. It's until we see them next time or whatever. But because of social media and that, you got all these mad Instagram accounts and that. So it's now, if like on Twitter, I put a story about how I ran away and a man ended up getting mashed up. And nobody knows that until I said that story. But if that was to happen to me now, It'll be all over UK politics, street.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
There'll be a video of you running.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then with a full caption
Yeah,
explaining
yeah,
everything.
with your at name and
Exactly.
everything.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on these boys.
What do you guys feel, aside from social media and reputation, are the other factors that affect what's going on today?
I feel like it comes down to the person's background, how they was brought up, also what has happened to an individual in their life, and what makes them to react to some certain stuff. So when it comes to me as a person, I can do a lot of stuff, but it's my mind that I'm in control of. Okay, let's say this for example. I'm angry. I listen to a song, and let's say I was brought up bad. Because of a song, it's not going to make me react somehow. Do you get what I mean? It's me that is going to tell me what I'm about to do in a certain situation. But it's also how my mum raised me and how I was brought up and how I should react to certain stuff.
Okay, can you give like a specific example of how someone can be raised that can lead them to that crime?
So for example now, with this person, they lost their parents and it hit them really hard. And they stopped working for a bit. Like when I'm talking a bit, they told them a month or so, like the normal time you'd get off. But then it ended up being 6 months, a year, do you know what I mean? Until you eventually lose the job because you're mentally not ready to go back into the world and, overcome the situation. So, but another person, that could happen to another person and they can, back it, come on, I've got to carry on going. This is what my mum would want me to do. But this is why I always say it's down to the person's mind and how they think.
With a show of hands, does anybody think that there's a masculinity problem and how guys choose to handle issues? Shit.
Okay, that's a large...
Okay, wait. Who doesn't? Sorry, because... okay, it's a full house.
Quickly, I just wanted to hear from Saint. You're 14 years old, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is something that's affecting you directly. So it'll be amazing to hear your take on this.
The root causes is like, if you look back historically, that's why you find that with gang crime, it's mainly black people because in a society where it's white people are they're on top. We're like the minorities. So. Let's just look back in like the 80s and 90s. Black people, it was very difficult for us to be employed. It was very difficult for us to get jobs. It was very difficult for us, so obviously we had to look into other things, and that would lead to drugs, knife crime, stuff like that. And that's when like the cycle was formed. And now, because obviously it's being glamorized by the media, we have the cycle keep going, and people look at it and they wanna be part of the cycle. And it's something that I agree with what she was saying with the mindset that we also have to break. And there's a lot of generational things as well, because you have people who are being brought up. People are being brought up without parents. People are being brought up without fathers, and it's about them saying, you know what, I'm not gonna follow the sins of my past. I'm not gonna follow the sins of what my past generation did. I'm gonna try to step out of the cycle.
For me personally, what I'm gonna say is gonna sound a bit mad. So everyone pray for me, please, because if I get nicked outside, you guys know why, but I blame the government. And there's many reasons why I'm going to blame the government. Firstly, if you look at the conditions, a lot of all the gang violence, where it all happens, basically, the areas, we're all basically like tin sardines, if you get what I'm trying to say. We've got thousands and thousands of people all in one tight little space, and it's a struggle. People in council estates, shitty housing, and it's a struggle to get out of that cycle. And a lot of young people are getting overlooked. So as again, like to back his point, struggling to get jobs, struggling to get like a proper source of education. When I say source of education, whereas when people are going through like little traumas and troubles in their areas, teachers will look to kind of overlook it because they don't quite understand what people are going through. And secondly, it comes down to, I remember when I was a lot younger, we had adventure playgrounds, we had youth clubs, we had social clubs, we had all of these stuff. And it kind of encouraged kids to kind of come off the streets. But if you look at nowadays, they've cut the funding. We've got no budget for kids no more. So all of a sudden, the kids have got nowhere to go. And now with this whole drill and the drill culture that's happening, you know, like all of a sudden now, everybody's just flooded the streets, and they've got nothing better to do than to cause havoc on the streets, and that's their entertainment.
I think it's a really interesting one. I think there's so many. There's not one. There's things which people have said, and I agree with a little bit. But I think even when you say home, I think it's difficult because like I said, I'm a youth worker, and the area that I live in is on an estate, and you have different types of young people involved. You have some who come from brilliant homes, and who live the double life. Like they're amazing. Like they know how to. They're very respectful, but it is what it is, if that makes sense. And they do carry knives. They do. I think it's such a complex problem. The government has. I think it's really difficult to blame the government because, to me, not to be rude, a lot of government is not leading. They do what the people want, if that makes sense. So they only react to what the people want. And a lot of the times what we ask for, I mean, it is what we get, if that makes sense. And so definitely there is a government problem. There is a police problem, but it is a societal problem, and it's so widespread. Now, one of the key things is poverty, because obviously the areas where it's most prevalent is estates, as you mentioned, and the challenges of estates is you have problems of mental health, higher mental health issues. You do have overcrowding and just like your ability to express yourself. So, you know, if you live in a house of, let's say there's, you know, you've got your parent, your mum, or let's say you have a mum and dad, mum and dad, and you know 3 siblings, and you're crammed into a flat. If you're vexed, you have nowhere to go. Do you know what I'm saying? Or you go out and you're on your estate, you're more likely to get that frustration. Like I had a blessing of having a bedroom, but by myself, and that was my solace place. When I was vexed, I could just go to my room, chill out, and frustrate my angers. Young people don't have that, and that ability not to be able to express how you feel magnifies how like your emotions, and it can be expressed through other ways. Definitely government have to have a part to play, but I think as a community, you know, that looking after each other. One thing that I find, I don't want to go on for, one thing I find is that even within the community of like, I'm not saying like the whole no snitching thing, but keeping people accountable. Like if everybody here was to tell their friend or person they had a knife that can't run and hold them accountable, not even snitching to the police, that would make a huge difference. But we don't necessarily do that. And then when something goes wrong, we blame the other side, or we're saying, oh, the police are corrupt. 100% some police corrupt, and they need to be held to account. But my thing is, I always say, hold to account who you have a opportunity to influence. I can't influence the police because they're not my business. I don't. But the people that I hang around, the younger ones around me, I got to hold them to account. And that's why I say that like that is bigger than what the government can do, if that makes sense.
Cool. Great point.
A lot of us, our parents, do not sit down with us, talk to us about how we feel. How is school going? Are you actually feeling good? How's your mental state? A lot of that doesn't happen. So when you can't vent that anywhere and you've got these streets that you can go and run wild on, it's an easy like way of escapism to just get out of that world, step into a completely different world where everybody's your family, everybody can relate to you. And I think if we start teaching young people about emotional intelligence, but as well as the accountability, because when you understand the impact of what you're doing and you can see beyond the scope of your immediate environment, you can affect a bigger amount of change. So yeah, that's my piece.
Can you shed a bit more light on what you feel are the root causes?
The root causes, I think, a reason that was personal for me and a lot of my friends that no one's really touched on is kind of when you're growing up. I know the brother in the green hat, you said like, because it's hard to get a job and that. Like by the time I was getting involved with like whatever I was doing, I was like 14, 15. So like no one my age had a job, you understand? So it was all about kind of belonging. Like I had football growing up. I played football a lot. Even when I was messing about on the roads, I still like tried to kick ball and that. But I always had something to do. But there was kind of like me and 1 or 2 of my brethren that was like that. The rest of us kind of, they didn't really have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. When you're a black boy, you don't have a lot of positive examples in front of you kind of thing. You kind of only have sportsmen, rappers and that. You don't really even the teachers that are teaching you, they're white and that you don't really, you understand? So, but the example that's always in front of you is them boys that are on the block and they're making money and it's not hard to do kind of thing, innit? And you know that they'll accept you. So kind of with me, I played football and that, but I was kind of like, you know how it is in school, there's like the boys that are good at football, then there's the boys that are like really good, like, and I was one of them, don't get it twisted. But what it was, it's kind of like in trials and that, kind of because I'd already got in trouble or kind of just the way I carried myself, kind of scouts and everything, they didn't really take a light to me how they did the other boys. So all I wanted to be was a footballer. I didn't know nothing else. So by the time I was 16, I kind of thought, what do I do? Like, and most black boys that don't have a plan B in London, unfortunately, they end up on the roads. And like I said, I just felt, I'm not even gonna lie, for the first time, I felt like I was someone kind of thing. I was doing things, people were hearing about it, they cared. And I didn't really have that. Yeah, I had that in the football world, but kind of outside of that, I kind of just felt like a small fish kind of thing. But when I joined, whatever I joined, I felt power, that kind of thing. Like you said, I was like that. I used to roll with certain man that would carry things, and I'd feel like, yeah, I feel safe, calm with him. But when I had my own knife or whatever, I was on the other side, so man were feeling safe because they was rolling with me, and it's all like a power trip, and it all gets to your head, and you get lost, and you're into this little bubble. And I think another cause is like you said, people let you. All my friends that noticed me change, yeah, they probably had 1 or 2 conversations. Rah, you're moving with a knife now. Rah, you got a bandana. You're putting this in your MSN screen name and all of that. So, and you know them ones. No one. They asked me, but no one really said like, rah, like, what are you doing? And these boys, even the boys now, why it's so bad is we let them. They have their own little role in society. Whereas, like I said, me 10 years ago, like, don't get it twisted. I'm 26 now. I had my first youth when I was 23. I had a knife on me in labour. You understand? 23 years old. So don't think you understand?
What do you think was going to happen at hospital?
What did I think was going to happen whenever I was carrying a knife?
That's so mad.
But it's just, when you get into that way of life and you create, I have created problems for myself that will never go away, you understand? And I have to live with that now, you understand? I'm trying to do what I can now by sending out a message to the youth then, but at the same time, a lot of the things I've done can't be like, you understand?
Yeah.
And a lot of the boys that kind of get involved, they associate themselves with people that's like that, with people that have done things that are unforgivable, you understand? So straight away you have this boy that's nobody, and because he takes a picture with a man or he's in a music video with a man, he's inherited all his problems. And that's how it is. And the reality of it is, it's boy, I don't know.
I think the main root cause is poverty. For me, it's always going to be lack of money. I always think everything comes down to poverty. I think poverty is the reason why a lot of dads can't struggle. So a lot of dads feel like they can't take care of their families and abandon them. As in one of the reasons. I'm not saying that's the only reason. Poverty is one of the reasons why that happens. Poverty is the reason why your mum, like for example, when this young lady here said, you know, do your parents sit down and chat to you and blah 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 and all these different things. For me, I feel that way too. But then when I think about it, my mum had to work from this hour to that hour to be able to feed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I like to eat. Do you know what I'm saying? So, my mum couldn't even make it to parents' evening sometimes because she had to work. Do you know what I'm saying? I think poverty is poverty. As I said, it leads to a lot of dads. I think it's the reason why a lot of dads leave the home. But a lot of dads not being in a home is another reason why I feel like. Do you know, when I went to uni and post uni and all of these different things, especially post uni, I never knew that the boys in the family taking care of the house was just mainly a black thing. Do you know what I mean? And when I say taking care of the house,
Yeah.
I mean having to be the man of the house
Yeah.
from young. So many guys that are doing madnesses are doing it because they actually have to take the role as the
Yeah.
father of the house, because there's no father in the household. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a thing called immediate gratification. People need immediate gratification because we're raised in the mindset that we're not going to live past a certain amount of time. Like, even me, I get death anxiety. I found out that's what it's called, death anxiety, where you feel like you're going to die young just because that's what you're used to seeing. And a lot of people are like that. Rappers say all the time, thank God I made it to 21. Do you know what I mean? You know, at the start of Don't Be a Menace, he's like, most things don't seem 21.
yeah.
But it's a joke, but it's real. A lot of people don't think they're going to live to a certain age. So they feel like they've got to get it now. Do you know what I mean? So people are broke, they're neglected at home, living in this overcrowded house, and then they feel like they've got to get it now, because if you don't get it now, you're fucked. Do you know what I mean?
So this is not a black issue. It's not, black people are not intrinsically or inherently violent.
Yeah.
Stabbing each other is deeper than that. In Mexico, people are not black. Honduras.
But
Yeah.
it's a poverty. It's a poverty. But who are the most? Sorry, who are the people living in poverty the most?
In London, but poverty in Glasgow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. No, it's a poverty issue. It's a poverty issue, but here it becomes a black issue because
white people.
If they're not bad themselves, or if they don't carry around a weapon, then they can easily become a victim. So I feel like this kind of culture is easily spread that way as well. And also, especially if you're from an area that has a high crime rate, there's a lot of like young guys that end up getting in the mix when that's not actually their intention. But it's just that like sometimes they'll see like their friend will get like stabbed or something, and then they feel like they have to get involved, or they have to now be the one carrying the weapon because they don't want it to be them next.
People are less likely to go to the police and be like, oh my gosh, like if something happened to your friend and your friend got stabbed, people wouldn't go to the police. They would go and retaliate and like get revenge. And another thing, touching on the issue of poverty, the whole thing where like people who live in area, like a deprived area, they're more likely to get groomed by older people, become shotters and runners because they need the money, and they come from like a single parent household. And another thing, I feel like, not in a rude way, we kind of live in a generation where we have a sense of entitlement, and it touching on what you said about immediate gratification. If it's a thing where someone can make like £500 a week just shotting, they'd rather do that than get a normal part-time job.
Identity and self-worth is number one. And that is down to the breakdown of family. I said what I said because I feel like I want to get away from this blaming the government thing. I understand what you're saying in terms of feeling helpless, but we all are not helpless. That's number one. But there is a big issue. So I think the breakdown of family and how societies has influence that is really important. So if I talk about the fact that nowadays, like from 10 years ago, youth services are dropping. Like the support and I thought the people who are affected the most are those who live in working class areas. Because why I say that is, if you're from sort of a middle class area, if the youth services go and the social workers go, you have your parents, you have a good support system. However, if you're in a working class area and you have challenges, your mum has to work all the time, you're left to your own devices. If youth services are not there, then you find your own role models. And I feel that that's really key as to kind of why we are where we are. So I think that the question was root causes. And I think that the breakdown of the family, the lack of support for those in those positions. I mean, where I work in the environment, young people kind of do what they want. And there's no repercussions. And the only time repercussions come is when police come. And that's like, it's not solution-based, it's preventative. It really frustrates me that with the whole knife crime, Amber Rudd was talking about stop and search. Stop and search? What's that going to do with the knife crime issue is so deep. That's not even trying to address the issue. That's trying to just cover it up. Black on black crime is a false thing completely, and I agree with it. But the media's done so much to perpetuate it that, for example, I remember growing up, if I saw like those big rugby lads, like white rugby lads, I wouldn't feel threatened at all. But if I see one skinny black cute with a hood up, I'm still feeling like, I have to be on job. Unless obviously I'm in like Barking where them rednecks want your head, like, do you know what I'm saying?
In terms of living in a certain area, and there's people saying, oh, it's because of your environment, that always annoys me, that term, like, it's your environment, because it makes us feel like people so stupid. Like, are we that stupid to think, oh, everyone's in a gang, let me join a gang? Or are we that willing to be like, oh, this is my environment, this is what they put me in, let me be this? Because my brothers, like, we raised on the estate, my brothers, all our friends, like, like, had both of their parents, and even my friends now have both of their parents, and it wasn't a moment where, oh, we're black and we have one parent and we're raised in poverty, Like, it wasn't easy growing up, but our parents and ourselves, we pushed each other to grow and not be part of the gangs and stay away from that. Like, we're not gonna completely air them. We'll talk to them. They're like, people are cool. They're young men in a gang. They're not like scary, whatever. They just have their own lives going on. But doesn't mean like we're gonna be drawn to that.
You feel like you can't be anything and you're poor. So you're just looking for the next quick fix to get you up and get you living. Now it's been proven that it's like extremely expensive to be a young person in London. So if you've got this like impossible life to live, you're already on this estate, your environment, your parents are out there working all the time. I grew up in a economically depressed, whatever you call it, area, and my dad was doing like 4 different jobs, working as a runner, cabman. He fell asleep at the wheel because like he couldn't sleep. It's all about like it's long-term thinking. So if you feel like you're not going to be anything and you're poor, of course you're just going to look for quick things to do, because you're just like, I'm just trying to live to see tomorrow.